Powered by Red Media in partnership with TSN, it is Season 5, Episode 62, a playoff preview. No, it isn't. It's a playoff edition. We did the preview, Ray. It's the Ray Driggs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. Have you tried the Canadian Club Ginger Ale, a crisp, refreshing alternative to beer? It is. Well-balanced flavors of ginger, subtle notes of rye and spice. The new formula, 30% less sugar, 20% fewer calories, delicious. That's Canadian Club Ginger Ale. And for those watching on the YouTube channel, Ray, I can tell. I know this hotel room well based on the Boston wallpaper. And there you are in Boston post Game 5. And who knows, maybe back for Game 7. We'll see.
Yeah, well, of the obvious, it's a hell of a lot more likely there's a Game 7 today than there was before the game yesterday. It's just, man, every time you think you've really got a stranglehold on what's going on, right, here comes the big overhand curveball. And, the Bruins are at home. There's no way they can lose Game 5 at home 2 years in a row, except, yes, they can. And do you know what? They've won 15 out of their last 30 games at home in the playoffs. Like, that is hard to believe. Like,
it is.
Half the time they're losing at home. And now, can you imagine going back to Toronto? Only one team has pressure on them. Yeah. And it's not the Leafs.
No. And we saw that a bit in Game 5, which we'll dissect here in headlines, brought to you by Tim Hortons. The annual Smile Cookie campaign is back until May 5th, with over 100% of proceeds supporting over 600 charities and community groups. Now, last year, Tim Hortons guests helped raise a record-breaking $19.7 million. So visit your local Tim's or order through the mobile app for delivery. All right, Matthew Knies gets the overtime winner. Nice play by the captain, John Tavares, right? As he's matched up against Grzelcyk deep into the zone, tries to cut to the net, but does what he needed to do in getting that puck out front of Swayman, and Knies was there on the spot and pumps it in. So the series does continue. And so the two things, Ray, that made sense to me going into this series. Bit of a bold move, I guess, in starting Joseph Woll by Sheldon Keefe, even though, the spark was there in Game 4 when he came in relief of Ilya Samsonov for the third period. So how much of a shocker was it? Very little. Not shocking, maybe a tad surprising, but
none.
The kid had to have a standout performance, Woll. And he did. And they also needed some offense from maybe unlikely sources. Jake McCabe, the first goal, I mean, that's somewhat of an unlikely source. And the support offense of Matthew Knies, I mean, that's what it takes, right? All of that to win in the playoffs and stave off elimination.
I thought the Leafs' first period was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought Max Domi played his best game that I've seen him play in a little bit of time. I don't really have a time frame for it, but man, he started out, he was 10 for 10 on faceoffs. That line really had all of the zone time when they were on the ice. They get the early goal from McCabe. Woll didn't have anything to do in the first 30 minutes, nothing.
No, and a couple of shots.
Then when he started to get busy, it was like he was ready for the moment. And he didn't make saves, and now he's got to find the puck. He made a save and the puck was right in front of him. He made a save and the rebound went to the corner. Like, he was totally in control. There's a couple of huge moments in the game, I thought anyway. We'll start at the back end. Boston loses Brandon Carlo late in the third period with a puck to the face.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't return for the third or for overtime. So that's something to keep an eye on. He would be a big loss. So now Boston's defense is Matt Grzelcyk, who was scratched in games 3 and 4, Parker Wotherspoon and Mason Lohrei, who were playing in their first playoff series. They've played 3 games each at this point. And then you've got McAvoy and Lindholm, who can't be on the ice all the time. And so the Carlo loss was a big deal for them. Grzelcyk gets beat by Tavares, who, man, I mean, his skating is what it is, but he saw a spot and he drives it to the net and he gets cut off. So he just shovels it there. It hits the net. It hits Grzelcyk's foot. Like, a bounce is often the difference of a game like that. Like I said late in the game, that the chances of a tic-tac-toe goal ending this game are about 0.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt in that now, like there's going to be a misplay. There's going to be a bad bounce. The ice was brutal. The puck was bouncing around like a tennis ball on a rock pile. And it was just like erratic. It was all over the place. But man, Sheldon Keefe had to go with Woll, and Woll answered the bell. And now the pressure, all of it, shifts to Boston. Do you go with Swayman again? I would, because they never score on him. I mean, they've got, what do they got? 6 goals in the series on Swayman. What do you do on the blue line? They took Johnny Beecher out, which might not seem like a big deal, and they got pounded in the face-off circle. Beecher's their only guy that was at 58% coming into the game. So they've got some decisions to make, and at the same time, they need something. As much as we look at the Leafs offense, they need something from Pavel Zacha.
Yeah.
Something. And they haven't got it. I just thought the Leafs played a fantastic game yesterday. They deserved to win. They were the better team for longer in the game. And then when the Bruins really started to put the heat on, Woll was fantastic. He really was.
You mentioned
the coil save. Sorry. Coil save in overtime.
Terrific.
Season saver right there. It was
100%.
It was quick and through traffic and great pad stop.
You mentioned Domi, who I agree. I thought he was terrific, certainly in faceoffs early, but then he went through a stretch where he didn't take draws. And there was some speculation on, geez, he hurt his hand. Is there something going on? I mean, was there anything that you picked up as part of the broadcast that you saw?
Nothing that jumped out.
Yeah.
And I don't have even an idea of what that could have been. The other thing that I will say about Domi, him and Tyler Bertuzzi did the same thing last night, and that was they played hockey. They stayed out of the penalty box. They didn't bother with Marchand. And as the game went on, Marchand twice ended up in the penalty box with coincidental minors. Although, I got to say, the one with Holmberg, I got to give that Holmberg credit. He tackled him 4 times, and somehow they both end up in the penalty box.
I know.
And then Marchand got tackled by the linesman. He was hot.
Did he look hot?
Oh, he was. But I got to tell you, I kind of liked what Holmberg did. I mean, it was a penalty 3 different times, but he didn't back down once. And I was like, that's a really good sign.
Yeah.
That's a really good sign. So it was.
You saw Montgomery as well go to his captain on the bench, right?
And tell him it's time to pull it back here. Yeah, time to pull it back, because the line of tipping over the edge, you can get there pretty quick. He's done an amazing job, Marchand has, of keeping his emotion under the line. Yeah. But in a game like last night, they were all frustrated. The building, when you're in the building and it kind of just feels off, like everybody's nervous. And when they didn't jump out and get a lead or play really well early, there was that murmuring through the crowd a lot. And the Leafs played a really great road game.
All right. Well, whether or not there's a game 7, we'll know the next time we do a Ragging the Regs episode later in the week. Toronto plays the way they did in game 5 and game 6 on Thursday, then, I mean, they're giving themselves a chance. No such luck for the Winnipeg Jets, right? Colorado pedal to the metal mode in the series in the opener against the Jets. The Avs absolutely run Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg out of the playoffs. So let's start with Colorado. They now have the full attention of the rest of the NHL, don't they? I mean, those remaining as participants in the playoffs anyway. That team was ready and ran in round 1, which is saying a lot when they kind of limped to the finish line in the regular season.
Last 3 weeks for them was not very good. I thought I think Jared Bednar is one of the best in the game. I think his communication skills set him up in that top echelon of coaches. And he's got, I think I've used this before with you, he's got that farmer honesty to him.
Yeah.
Like when he says something, he really cuts to the core. And he said after that, what was it? I guess it was the game 1 7-6 debacle. He said, they asked him about the problem, and he goes, our details in the D zone can't be a sometimes thing. They have to be an every time thing. And just the way he said it, it was like, that's it. We have to get back to this or we're done. And it starts, I don't know, I guess it starts with the players and the goalie. It's kind of like half and half. But Georgiev was was playing dodgeball in game 1. It was not just the 7 goals, it was the way they went in. But after that, he gave up 8 goals. The team really changed their focus a little bit. And at the same time, they scored 5 goals at minimum in every game. They had 28 goals in the series. Like, they ventilated Winnipeg. And man, I'll tell you that they get a little rest. So their big boys who play a lot of minutes get a recharge here. And the Avs they're a dangerous team, man. If the goalie plays like that, they are really dangerous, because you can, like the 3 forwards up front. I think here's the real challenge for a real challenge against Colorado is that they're all big and powerful. Like, aside from being really talented, I'm talking, of course, about Rantanen and McKinnon and Nichushkin, and they're big. Like, they're hard to handle. They wear you down. And Winnipeg simply just didn't have an answer for it.
Yeah. All right. So, there's going to be a significant review of everything in Winnipeg, right? I mean, twice you had Mark Chipman do lengthy interviews, one with me the early part of the season, one with Chris Johnson in The Athletic as part of a piece. And the reason was the sagging attendance in Winnipeg over the course of the regular season. Commissioner Gary Bettman visits Winnipeg, talks about how this small market team needs the full corporate and community support, right? Well, this isn't going to help that unless Jets fans, are open to how great it was in the first 2 games of the series with the whiteout and the electricity in the community and all of those things. But that doesn't mean as hockey operations or ownership, you don't expect change, because you lost in 5 games, right? So I don't know. I could see, and I want you to chime in here, right? I could see Rick Bowness just saying, I was basically in retirement. They lured me out of retirement. Had some family health issues. His wife Judy went through a tough time. He was on the leave of absence. He had kidney stones late in the year, missed some time. I mean, organically, there could be a coaching decision or change, in Winnipeg. They've got Scott Arniel there. But is it time beyond that? And I want your thought on that first. But is it time that they take a look at the core? They do. And maybe that's trading for another, like a top 4 defenseman who's going to take some of the pressure off Josh Morrissey. And how do you get that guy? Is it Nick Ehlers who you throw out, as some will speculate, as trade bait? Is it time for Cheveldayoff and the Winnipeg Jets to take a harder look here?
Well, I'll say this, and I'm learning this, watching Cammie do her job in Vancouver, is that we all think the NHL team is the entire focus of the organization because we are watching the NHL team. But while the Jets are in this series with Colorado, for certain, their pro scouts are meeting weekly, whether it's Zoom or whatever. Their amateur scouts are out there scouting players all the time. They're building lists into free agency. While this season is going on, all of this work goes on behind the scenes. It doesn't just show up 3 weeks before free agency. So you're saying, like, are they due for a major change? I'll say it like this. So in conjunction with what I just said about all that stuff that I see that, that is in Cammy's job, I remember before game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, Anaheim and New Jersey. I guess that would have been like 03. I'm standing in the press box and I happen to know one of the assistant managers of one of the teams. And I'm standing there watching and he goes, you know what's crazy? He goes, whether we win or lose, 6 of those guys are not going to be here next year.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? It's funny. I never really viewed myself as a commodity until that time. And I was like, oh, really? And that's so whether Winnipeg was winning or losing, there's going to be change. There's going to be contractual change. There's going to be, hey, this didn't work out quite the way we wanted it to. Clearly, Cheveldayoff hit a grand slam with the Dubois trade. They got, they made a significant step forward with a player that didn't want to be there. I can see them being aggressive. Cheveldayoff's way has been to be aggressive. And so you've got a player, they got to make room or not, meaning, or move along from Cole Perfetti.
Yeah.
You can't have a kid of that age just sitting around. He's either part of your future or he's part of a package to bring in something. And so like, I do see change. And the other part of it in Winnipeg is like, where's the weak team in the division? Like there's, I don't know if, I think people understand, but you can't really get your head around how hard it is to stay relevant year after year after year. Like I'll say it's impossible, but it's not, because some teams do, but man, it is hard. Like, do you think Minnesota's not going to be better next year? They're going to get back, $14 million in cap space.
Oh, yeah.
So, because of the buyouts to Parise and Suter. And so you're like, oh, well, they're going to be better. And Colorado, they're not going anywhere, right? Like you go through that division. It's not going to be an easy run for them. But so I think they are aggressive. I think they'd like to be, put it that way.
Yeah. Well, and they've got the support of Mark Chipman ownership of the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, that's pretty evident based on extensions to Scheifele and Hellebuck. So a lot of work ahead.
By the way, Hellebuck had a tough go. Oh my God. Like, I think he's going to win the Vezina, and that playoff series is ugly for him. What did he give up? 6-5. Well, he didn't give them all up.
6 in 3 games. No, but I mean, 6 goals against in 3 games and 5 in every game in the series. And then early on, and we'll move on to the Canucks and the Preds here, but, I thought that Bonus and company did a nice job of trying to deflect for Hellebuck, right? By saying, you know what? You talked about Bednar and the details that he stresses in the defensive zone. Winnipeg was kind of all over the map. But in saying that, Hellebuck definitely needed to be better and could not be outplayed by Georgiev.
No, that was not something we saw.
No, we didn't see that. Preds forced game 6, which means, as you know, personally and professionally, long trek back to Nashville for Cammy and the Vancouver Canucks. You watched that game closely last night. So, it's just a spin-off of how Nashville felt like they played much better or got closer to their identity in game 4. Didn't win that game. I mean, it was a miraculous push by Brock Besser and ultimately the overtime winner by Lindholm. But was that a feed off of game 4 that gave the Preds a little bit more jam?
Well, I don't know. I don't see any difference when I watch the games. I mean, like, clearly Nashville was the better team by a significant margin in game 4. In game 2, when Nashville won, the Canucks had the puck the whole time. Nashville blocked 1,000 shots, and they won. Yeah, like, the difference between the teams is minimal at best. And if you look at their regular seasons, I think Nashville had 5 less wins. That's not even a win a month. So the difference is, gets smaller and smaller. It's 2-1. The chances were the good chances were fairly even. Nashville hit a post. Suter hit a post for Vancouver. Pettersson got robbed a couple times. Best game he's played in the series, which is, they need something closer to that. I think the next game's going to be 3-2. I can't tell you who's going to win it, but it's like they just crash into each other, and the pace starts to get high. Then it checks really tight, and Vancouver's in a way they're hanging in. I mean, they're using their third goalie, and they're hanging in there pretty well, and they got a chance to win in Nashville. I didn't see this as a short series. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you that Vancouver would feel great going back to Nashville, but they just won there.
Yeah. Actually,
they won there twice.
Yeah.
And so do they, can they muster up one more in there? Can they get a good goaltending performance again? Does their power play punch through? It's a hell of a series. And because it's out west, it gets pushed aside a little bit. But I didn't see anything last night that was alarming or alarming for Vancouver or uplifting for Nashville, other than Vancouver lost and Nashville won. Of course, Nashville feels better about themselves.
Yeah. I love the candor of JT Miller. He just calls it like he sees it. And post game, he was asked about the power play, which was 0-2 in that game. And we were awful. It doesn't get any more blunt than that, right? So there'll be some corrections made.
Well, the thing is, I'm watching a power play like in Toronto and Boston. Boston 6 for 13 on the power play. They get one power play last night. Nothing happens. The Leafs power play has been dreadful.
Terrible. Yeah.
And you're like, but these are good players. Like, how does that happen? And Vancouver's power play last night, they had a chance a couple of times, and man, it didn't look very good. And so all you do is go back to the drawing board and start again in game 5 or game 6.
Yeah. Carolina dumps the Islanders, so that series wraps up. What a wild one that turned out to be in the deciding game. When I watch the Islanders play with the goalies that they have, it sort of reminds me of Boston, right? But there's some who are critical of Patrick Roy not identifying, okay, well, which one is it? Is it Varlamov? Is it Sorokin? Like, pick a guy here and ride with that guy. But, you're talking about a Hall of Fame goalie, a legendary goalie who knows a little bit about the position and the need to keep both guys sharp. And maybe that's the decision, right? Let's keep that internal compete as high as it was. I didn't think goaltending was a factor. Did you in that series from the Islanders' perspective?
No. And you can only sort of kind of rely on pedigree, and which Sorokin has, or you've got to look at who's playing the best right now, which is what Varlamov was doing coming into the playoffs by quite a significant margin. And so Sorokin got pulled the one game. He gave up the 3 goals, I think maybe like 12 or 13 shots.
Right.
And while everybody does go back and forth with the goaltending, who should play, who shouldn't play, he went with Varlamov because he thought he gave him the best chance to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the better team won. Like the deeper team, the faster team, the team with more weapons won. Yeah. And in my opinion, I mean this was of the series, this one I felt, when we make our guesses, I felt pretty good with Carolina here.
Yeah.
I just thought the best team won.
How about the Kuznetzov penalty shot?
Oh, 11 seconds.
I mean, not that we should be surprised. It's not the first time he's done it. No, I mean,
what would be awesome? What would be awesome is when he comes over the blue line and slows down, if the goalie, instead of being in his stance, he just went down to one knee. Because he's not going to shoot it.
No.
And he's trying to get in your head. Now you're in his head.
Yeah.
You don't even have to worry about it till the hash marks because he's not going to shoot it. He will not. In a regular season game, I would love to see somebody, or in a shootout, I'd love to see somebody pull that.
Yeah.
Because just think of everything going through the goalie's head as he's waiting for the 9 seconds of the 11 for him to come in.
Yeah.
You're watching the puck. You're focused in. You're locked in. Now your legs are in a half a squat. And then you've got to be explosive to make, because he wants to shoot it low blocker, but you don't know when he's going to make that move and shot. And so it is, I was doing the game. I'm doing my game. I see there's a penalty shot. I'm watching it on my phone in a commercial. And I'm like, geez, man, hurry up. The commercial's going to be over. I'm not going to see the end of the shot. I didn't know if he scored or not. It's unbelievable to watch.
Some are perturbed by it. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, again, it's not the first time he's done it. What, should we expect the National Hockey League? And I know Gretz a year or so ago suggested maybe they put a shot clock on shootouts, or in this case, I guess it's the penalty shot. I mean, he's the only guy in the league that does it. Some guys will go wide and they'll cut back, and they're slower, but not like this. No, I just think it's a spectacle. I'm okay with it.
I'm not in for the shot clock because, do we really need a rule for one guy? He's going to retire in 2 years anyway, or whatever he's going to do, and nobody else is going to do it.
No.
So, and if it became 3 or 4 guys, then maybe you could look at it. But
yeah,
I just think it's a spectacle for sure, and I don't know if it's helpful or not. I really don't. I don't get why it would be helpful.
No.
But when you watch it, you're like, what the hell is he doing? Like, what is he doing?
All right, we're going to tee up the games tonight in just a moment, but I do want to look back at the Tampa Bay Lightning because Julien BriseBois, the general manager, was made available to the media, right? And, one of the bigger stories going into the offseason is the future of Steven Stamkos, their captain, who's a pending unrestricted free agent. But, BriseBois didn't clear it up, but he gave us a pretty good look into the obvious, which is they, in Tampa Bay, are prioritizing re-signing and extending Steven Stamkos. He acknowledged that he's had a conversation recently with Stamkos. He's talking to Newport Sports, who represents Stamkos, and also went on to say that he's going to engage with Victor Hedman when he can do that on July 1st to try and extend Hedman. I think that it's just the right thing to do by BriseBois at this point. There's no sense letting stories develop and become a distraction for no reason. Now, there's no guarantee you're going to get something done, but I think this is an appropriate thing to do.
Well, unless there was going to be no talks, I mean, you absolutely get out, right? You absolutely get out in front of it. But here's it's just the most brutal part of negotiating with a long-term player is that, without question, you're partly paying for the legacy of the player.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that worth to you? Because in the future, that legacy is not going to help you win games.
No.
It just isn't. Yet, Stamkos scored 40 goals this year, and he had a great playoff series.
Yeah.
So the ones you got to be really careful of are when the goals or when the level of play has significantly dropped. Now, Stamkos isn't the player he used to be. He's 34 years old, right? Like, that's just a fact. But man, it would, like, what term are you talking about? What dollar figure? Are you talking at 3 times 7 or 3 times 10?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And so everybody thinks, you got to get them done, but you got to get them done in a way that makes sense for your team. They've got a whole bunch of guys signed. I saw a thing that half a dozen of them are signed until they're 34.
Yeah, I saw that.
And, so Stamkos and Hedman are creeping up there as well. And so are you going to sign them till they're 39? Like it starts to get, that's where it gets dicey. They're not easy decisions. And Steven's going to have to decide, like, do I really want to play anywhere else?
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's something only him and his family would know about.
And why would he? I mean, as long as they're a competitive team, and they will be, then, he's got a chance to win. But there's some work that needs to get done. He also talked about BriseBois. This is, didn't elaborate, but I don't think there was much speculation around the future of John Cooper. But, the general manager just acknowledges that he's got term. I think he's got another year left. So anyway, not a lot of change expected. In terms of the bigger pieces of the Tampa.
But they do need a refresh there.
They do.
They've got to get quicker. They need, and it's not easy when you're bumping your nose up with the cap every time.
Los Angeles taking on the Edmonton Oilers tonight. Man, special teams, the story there, largely favoring the Oilers. What's the power play? Like 53%.
8 for 15. Yeah. 8 for 15.
Penalty kill is perfect. 100%. LA have anything left? I thought they played a pretty tidy game the other day, and just
they did
squeak it through.
They did. You know what? I looked at it from the other way, in that this is a game that Edmonton in the past would have probably got impatient. Mm-hmm. I think they only had 13 or 14 shots, right? Something like that, and yet they just kind of plugged away, and they get a power play, and they get one power play, and it's in the net. And for the questions about Skinner earlier in the series, he was terrific. But that, to me, it was just like sometimes the game is just so different than what you want to play, but that's what you have to play. And this, to me, is a good sign for Edmonton. And I don't see the series going back to LA.
Yeah. Is that the experience? Like, again, the Oilers have been through the muck in getting to this place and falling in the conference final to the Avalanche, who go on to win the Stanley Cup. Deep disappointment last year, losing to Vegas. They go on to win the Stanley Cup. Is that just part of the evolution of the leadership core, understanding what it takes to win, management bringing in additional pieces to plug holes, all of that, just the building of a championship team?
I don't think there's any question. And there's each little piece you bring in is something that you try to address that you didn't get done the year before or the previous years. Now, somebody talked about like a team developing scar tissue, and that's like, like you lose. And so you realize, hey, I can handle that. And how do we handle it? And do we bring in new players, or maybe more importantly, the players that are still there, they can call back to something that doesn't go right and go, yeah, I don't need to lose my mind over this. We'll get through this. And so like when McDavid and Draisaitl, because they're such outsized players on any team, when they wear frustration and everybody can see it, that goes through everybody.
It does.
But now they've been through this before. And while maybe Draisaitl's a little more demonstrative, it doesn't happen the way it used to happen. They just kind of put their heads down and they get back to work.
Yeah.
And so everybody, we talk, what's leadership? Leadership is yes, saying the right things, but doing the right things. And I think the Oilers are better positioned now because of the ages of their superstars and their experience to just drive the bus forward. And it might not be a smooth road all the time, but it just looks different to me. And that's why I thought, even, when they were struggling along, like, this team is really good. This will it be a Stanley Cup team? Well, I don't know. At some point they're going to have to get through Colorado, and that doesn't seem easy. But like, it's a better positioned team than it was a year or two ago, for sure.
All right, another huge game in the West, and that's the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights. And I mean, I'd like to predict how this is going to play out in a best of three. The series is tied at 2. I mean, obviously Vegas wins the first 2, and you're thinking, geez, now Dallas has an obvious problem. Such a good team all season long. While the Stars rebound, they get 2 quick wins, not the series at 2 apiece, and there's a huge momentum shift. And now my brain is telling me not to. Okay, I don't want to write off the Vegas Golden Knights here. That would be ridiculous. But Dallas is kind of living up to the style and the quality of the team that we saw through most of the regular season.
When they're down 2-0, lose 2 at home, it's almost done. Like that's what it felt like. Yeah. And given the way that Logan Thompson had played the first couple of games, and then they get down to Vegas, and Wyatt Johnston scores a couple, and they win in overtime, and then I think the Game 4 win would be the most concerning for me if I'm Vegas, is because Dallas got goals from 4 different players. Mm-hmm. That's the Dallas model right there. They had 8 guys that had 20-plus goals this year. They have tremendous depth. Ottinger is a really, really terrific goalie who has played well in pressure spots for a long time, even though he got lit up last year by Vegas in Game 7. But I think Dallas is a terrific team. I really do. If I'm going to give an edge, I guess maybe home team is going to win a game eventually. I'm going to give it to Dallas, but not by much. And how about the first 2 minutes of the game the other night? Braden McNabb flattened Stankoven, and don't you know, the puck comes right back to him, and here comes Jamie Benn like a freight train. And those 2 hits, like 4 seconds apart, were epic. Like that was amazing. McNabb's feet were like parallel to the ice. And the best part about the hit I liked, and it's from McNabb's part, he knew that he just ran over Stankoven, and he knew he just got ran over. He just jumped back up and started to play again.
Let's go.
That's the way the game is played. Not this, now you got to fight somebody else or whatever. He was like, I laid him out. He laid me out. Let's get back to it. It was a spectacular visual to watch.
It's going to be an entertaining best of 3. It really, truly will. Yeah. And we'll have some of the answers, maybe not all of the answers to the questions from round 1 in our next edition here of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. But there's some fun and entertaining hockey ahead. So thank you, Tim Hortons, for the headlines.
Tim's Smile Cookie is back from April 29th to May 5th. 100% of Smile Cookie proceeds support over 600 local charities and community groups all across the country. Get yours from April 29th to May 5th at Tim's.
Our interviews on Ray and Dregs are brought to us by Canadian Club 1858 Original, the flagship whiskey for Canadian Club, where it all began. Aged over 3 years in oak barrels before being bottled. The result is the smoothest possible flavor. It's spicy. There's some zest, hints of rich oak and sweet vanilla. That is Canadian Club 1858. Ask Ray and Dregs anything. We're going to compile some of the inquiries, Ray, and we'll revisit that late in the week. You got to get going. You're a busy dude. You got to leave Boston. You got to get to where? Connecticut. You're in studio. You're a jack of all trades when it comes to ESPN.
Jack of all trades. Hey, yeah, I don't know about that. What I am here is like, I am like I got to go where? Studio? Oh man, I thought I was going to get to go home. Yeah. However, the way that, as you know, Dregs, the buildings, the concerts, they're jamming games in left and right here. And I don't know how long ago it was where it started to get this conflicted, because teams always had basketball and hockey. It seemed like once they started jamming more concerts in there, they're like, it's a free for all as to, like, one of the things the league is discussing is, can the Eastern Series start round 2 while round 1 is still going on somewhere else?
West. Yeah.
And so they don't like to do that, but maybe they have to do it. And nobody knows. It's Wednesday morning, right? Yeah, Wednesday morning. Nobody knows yet. So if they could let me know, that would be really nice.
How do you feel about like 16, 18 hours in Vancouver? Just, quickly zip home, drop your laundry off, maybe get some fresh stuff and just back on.
I wouldn't, I don't fly the planes. I'm okay. I'm okay flying. I just get there, sit down, and, otherwise I'm going to be sitting in the hotel.
Yeah, so that's true.
I'd rather do that. So rather go see the boys, see what's going on. Cammy won't be there. So
she's got business.
Yeah, she's on her way to Nashville here, so we've got to catch up before they take off. So, busy time, but awesome time,
buddy.
Awesome time, man.
Safe travels.
Thank you, and thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs and make the pod possible. Our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey and Tim Hortons. And always, yes, thank you for listening, rating, sharing the pod, and for following us on the Ray and Dregs YouTube channel so you can get a look at that fancy wallpaper in Ray's Boston suite. Until next time, enjoy the playoffs, everybody.